Welcome to Magnus. This is the 7th and final map from Stardate 20x6. We walk onto a balcony and see massive towers pulsating with alien energy. This must be the source of the signal we've been chasing. We don't know what the purpose of this place is, but one thing's for certain. We're not turning back now. The towers seem unreachable, but we see a large platform below. We have to find a way down there and get closer to them. Our main objective is gaining access to the space platform near the towers, however the path is locked with a yellow key. The key in question is hidden in a secure vault deep at the heart of the complex, locked behind a door that requires both the blue and red key to open. Each key has a dedicated route accessible through the hub area. There's nothing left to say. Let's do it. Hey, look at that! We get all the guns right at the start. At least we don't have to fight for each individual weapon. We all know the drill. The enemies are facing away from us and we have to get them to infight. We grab all the stuff and alert everyone in the area. We have to hide behind the cyber demon to the right, but he needs to be angry with someone else before we attempt to do this. We could try to make a run for it, but we'd most likely die. Alright, now all that's left to do is wait. We don't really have any means to speed things up here. There is a very aggressive route used by speedrunners that doesn't involve waiting behind this pillar, but there's no way we're doing this. You can see the yellow switch to the left. That switch opens the finale, and that's our ultimate goal in this level. The infighting here doesn't really need any help from us, except for the barons on the ledges. Usually you have to put some effort into getting them to infight with the cyber, but thankfully in this demo we don't have to worry about that. Our first goal in this level is to secure the hub area. Eventually we'll reach a cross-shaped room which will allow us to make a choice between either going for the blue key first or the red one. Just like in most of the previous levels, one of those routes is pretty easy and the other one's really hard, so you know which one we're doing first. In order to progress at this point, we have to go and press the switch that was behind the horde at the beginning. Then we'll get access to the control room which will allow us to open the path forward. Okay, so right now I want to leave this place, but I need to confirm that the cyber is still infighting with the barons above. That's the switch. Let's kill those revenants before we press it. At this point we could open the control room already, but there's a bunch of monsters there and the cyber demon is still alive. Technically, as long as the cyber demon is still infighting with the barons, we could deal with the enemies in the control room, but let's not take that risk here. That doesn't happen very often. Usually you have to finish off the cyber demon because he's powerful enough to deal with all the other monsters. But in this case, and it's actually pretty rare, the monsters have managed to kill the cyber demon, so that just saves us some time and ammunition. Alright, this encounter probably looks more scary than it actually is. Just go after the chain gunners and then focus on the vials. It's unlikely that you're gonna die here unless you've left the cyber demon alive. Watch out for the chain gunner ambush. You can kill them quickly with the rocket launcher. Now let's just take care of the imps. The big gate behind us is the one that requires 2 keys and it leads to a gigantic room that protects the vault with the yellow key. That hub area is not particularly difficult and that makes it tempting to rush it. I would say that in terms of difficulty, this level is not any harder than Violet's. It's probably like on the same level. The good thing is that the opening scenario is actually a lot more manageable and the difficulty once again comes mainly from the length of the level, which is over 40 minutes long if you're playing casually. Oh, here's the secret switch, and it raises the stairs that will allow us to access the first secret, but actually we're gonna take that secret at the very end of the level. So now you're gonna see a lot of things happening at the same time, because I'm gonna be rushing this area a little bit. That switch raises the pillars in a cross-shaped room that we could briefly see through the window here. This is gonna be another slow part of the demo because there's a large number of barons here and it's gonna take a while before we get rid of them. I'm gonna be spending some time trying to get them to infight with the rest of the monsters, so it's not gonna be very entertaining actually. Yeah, that door cannot be opened by monsters, so I'm gonna be running there, opening it a couple of times to lure the monsters out of there. So I said that this level is not much harder than Violet's, but that's actually only half correct. The truth is that this level is mostly as difficult as Violet's. I would say about 95% of it is pretty much on the same level. It might be actually a little bit easier because there's really just one fight that I'm really concerned about, and that's about it. But I'm still talking about those 95% of the level, so what about the rest of it? Well, my friends, that's a story I have to save for the later part of the video, but let me just say one thing. The finale. Oh man, the finale. The finale of this level is the reason why this is probably the most difficult demo and definitely the most time-consuming demo I have ever had to record for Doom. Just to give you a little tease, no level in Stardate 20x7, out of the ones that I've completed so far, has taken me even remotely as much time as this one. And rest assured, I'll tell you everything about it. Everything. In the meantime, I think it's finally time to kill some stuff. At this point I got bored of waiting for the Barons to kill the Mancubus, so I just decided to kill everything by myself. The next thing we have to do here is to press the switch that will open the cross-shaped room. The switch is obviously booby-trapped, so it's gonna release an Archvile and 4 pain elementals, or even 5, I don't remember exactly. That fight can be rather tricky, so we have to be really careful over there. But you know what? This demo actually goes rather well, especially compared to the last one. I'm saying this because there aren't many significant mishaps in this demo. Well, I do blow myself up a couple of times, but that's about it. And here's the switch. So as you can see, what I've been doing before was not a complete waste of time, because I lured all the Barons to the upper ledge, and now the Archvile has nothing to resurrect. That could have gone better. Ideally you want all the pain elementals to die right off the bat, but I didn't manage to do it. Thankfully, if you stay on this little staircase, the pain elementals should be mostly stuck on the other side of the room. Really though, you can actually just back away completely and take them out from the other area. Come on, you can't blame me for this, and that lost soul came out of nowhere. Okay, let's grab all the stuff and prepare to secure the cross-shaped room. So that room is actually pretty nasty. It's a cross-shaped ledge and a pool of damaging blood. When we step on it, a large group of demons starts warping in, along with cacodemons in the pits. That part is actually kind of unfair. You can stay there if you want, but you're just gonna waste all of your plasma ammunition. So the better course of action, and I think the intended one, is to back away and go to the room with a switch that has a window overlooking that area. Oh, and by the way, here's the secret teleporter. And it takes us to this switch, which you might not even notice what it does, but it actually raises a couple of supplies in the pool over there. Yeah, I'm actually going there right now. I think there's a big cell pack and 2 medikits. There's also a non-secret soul sphere nearby, but I'm gonna leave it for later. Here's the room I was talking about. We're gonna use it to take care of all the cacodemons. And there's actually a lot of them, so it's gonna take a minute. It actually kinda looks like an exploit, but I really think that this is the intended strategy, because staying in that room is way too dangerous, and it's very easy to run away. And as you can see, we have that window, I mean, it's there for a reason, right? I'm trying to bunch up all the cacodemons as much as possible, so that I make the best use of the splash damage. See, there's so many. Imagine fighting them on that ledge below with all the demons blocking your way. I think it's doable, but it's just not worth it. Also, pro tip, be careful with that rocket launcher, because if the door closes at the wrong moment, then you're gonna take a lot of damage. Okay, finally done with this. Now it's time to take care of the demons. Unfortunately, we kinda have to shoot them through this window, because there's so many that if we try to go, you know, into that room again, that we won't be able to drop down because of infinitely tall actors. We'll just be blocked from jumping down. Anyway, this is the room where we choose between either going after the blue key or the red key. Each of those rooms contains 3 distinct encounters, and we're going after the red key first because it's a lot tougher. Actually, I'm mostly concerned about the third encounter. The first 2 aren't so bad. The first fight takes place in a room with a blood pool. The blood is damaging, of course, so we have to use 2 platforms to stay out of it. After we trigger the fight, the area gets swarmed with imps and hell knights. And there are also mancubi on the ledges. We're gonna have to quickly take care of the mancubi and then focus on the rest of the party. Okay, now let's grab all the stuff and jump into the pit. We need to stock up on rockets. The launcher is gonna be our primary weapon here. The damaging floor might trick you into trying to avoid it at all costs, but don't be deceived. It's better to get your boots dirty than take a fireball in the face, so don't be afraid to strafe as much as you need. It's inevitable that you're gonna take some damage because you have to switch between one platform and the other, because otherwise you're just gonna get swarmed, but that's not a huge problem, we have a lot of health here. Survival itself is actually not the biggest challenge in this fight. Getting out alive is not really a problem. But we want to take as little damage as possible, because by the end of the second encounter in this route we're gonna need to be able to heal up all the way up to 200 health and 200 armor. Right now I'm doing fairly well in that regard, and that's good because we're gonna need the medikits for the future. Phase 2 involves cacodemons and pain elementals on both ends of the room. I'm gonna try to immediately flip the switch and escape from that area so that I can have all the enemies on one side. The reason for this is, once again, trying to conserve as much health and armor so that I don't have to waste every single medikit in the area. We have a soul sphere right next to us, and there's a mega armor at the far end of the room, so we will be able to get to 200 by 200, but we of course need to have enough medikits to heal up to 100% first. And all of this is because of the final encounter in this route. The room where that fight takes place contains, I think, only 4 medikits and 1 mega armor, which is absolutely not enough for this for the madness that happens there. So preferably we want to be in the best possible condition before we go there, so that all the resources in the area can be used to heal up during the fight itself. Right, so after we're done with this, we're gonna tackle the dark corridors behind us. First we're gonna have to deal with the cyber demon. Then we're gonna have to press 3 switches to unlock the exit, and each one of them is booby-trapped. The first one unleashes the Archviles, the second one Revenants, and the third one Imps and Spectres. Obviously the best course of action is to take care of the Archviles first, so that they don't resurrect anyone. These encounters are not very difficult, but again, as I said before, the challenge here is not so much survival, it's leaving this place with as much health and armor as possible. Okay, let's go deal with the cyber. This area is interesting because the corridors themselves are fairly small, but there are no traditional walls around us. In case of the cyber demon, that means that we don't really have to worry about splash damage, because all the rockets will hit the wall that's far behind us. And by the way, this is what you want to do in this area. Preferably you want the cyber demon to be stuck in this little room in the middle, and then you can just shotgun him to death. This isn't required, but if he starts wandering around this entire area, then it's just gonna take way longer to kill him. You might have noticed I'm looking behind every now and then. The reason for that is that there are 2 Archviles in the corridor behind us. I'm not sure how it happened, but in one of my attempts they actually got alerted. I don't know how, because they shouldn't be able to see me, and the splash from the rockets is not big enough to damage them. But the bottom line is that they came here and I had to fight them while fighting the cyber demon, which was not a good thing. So now I'm just checking to make sure they're not creeping up behind me. In case of the Archviles, the walls being so far back is actually not a good thing, because they have an easier time finding a line of sight to us. But here's a pro tip for you. If you get targeted by an Archvile in a situation like this, try to hug the wall in front of you, the chest high wall in front of you. That's gonna absorb the splash damage and you only take a little bit of direct damage. And that's because most of the damage dealt by an Archvile is splash damage. There's a little bit of direct damage, but most of it is splash. So if you can get a wall to absorb it, you're gonna be fine. Next up we have Revenants. They come from both ends of the room, so we have to wait a bit to lure them out and then run past them. Just like that. I took a bit of damage, but that's fine, I still have a lot of medikits left. The final switch is gonna release Imps and Spectres. That's not very difficult, but if you're playing with software rendering, then the specters are pretty much invisible in this area because it's so dark. And I always play in software, so it will take me a bit of doing to actually find all the specters that are hiding in the darkness. But before we press the switch, let's go back for some cells and health. You're gonna notice that I'm leaving the mega armor. I wanna save it for the final encounter of this entire route. I really don't know why that third area doesn't give you more supplies. I mean, a mega sphere would not be an overkill there, and we don't even get a soul sphere. And that's easy enough. Just use the plasma rifle to push towards the exit and deal with everything from there. So let's talk about the third encounter. It takes place in a cross-shaped room that has a lot of invisible monster teleporting lines on the floor. In the first phase of that fight, we get a single cyber demon, which lets us kind of familiarize ourselves with this and figure out how the teleporter lines move the monsters around. Which actually doesn't help us that much because the next phase involves a horde of revenants released into that area, and they're just gonna keep teleporting around. It's gonna be pure chaos, you won't be able to tell what's going on. It's one of those fights that's kind of luck-based actually, because I mean there's so many projectiles flying around that it's not possible to keep all of them in mind, especially when we're talking about Cyber Demon rockets. The Cyber Demon is the biggest problem because we kinda have to keep him alive to kill the revenants, but there's every chance in the world he's just gonna teleport right next to us and kill us in one hit. And that's why that fight is really the only thing I'm concerned about. That's the only obstacle that stands between us and reaching the finale. Okay, everything is dead. Time to prepare for the big fight. Fun fact, I actually figured out a fairly reliable movement pattern for the upcoming fight literally last minute. But I still maintain that this fight is kinda luck-based because there's just too much stuff going on and a normal human being won't be able to pay attention to all of that. And we're here! Let's grab whatever we can and press the switch. And yeah, that stuff that you see over there, that's all the healing that we have for this fight. Right now I'm waiting for the switch to appear, so we have to play around with the Cyber Demon a bit. And I also don't want him to be near me when I release the Revenants. Check this out. As usual, the beginning is the most difficult part, but actually it doesn't get that much easier after that, because it doesn't get any safer until basically everything is dead. Even when most of the Revenants are dead, the Cyber Demon is still a problem, because like I said, he can just teleport right next to us. You need to be able to quickly adjust to the situation here. There's no like pattern that you can follow and it's gonna work every time. You always have to pay attention to what's going on. Like here, there's no point running around like crazy when most of the Revenants are infighting with the Cyber Demon. At this point I think, okay, there's just a few Revenants left, so we might as well just start killing them. Oh, and now the exit is open. There's actually a secret area in this room, but I'm gonna skip it for now, because it's kind of dangerous. We're gonna return here later. Good, everything is dead. I actually did really well here. I only lost 70% of health, which is unprecedented. There's a red key. And also a little ambush involving 4 Archviles released in the hub area. However, this ambush isn't actually very dangerous, because the only thing that the Archviles can resurrect are imps. We just have to be careful because the vials can actually walk down this staircase, and when they do, we have very little cover here. Good, it's time to prepare for the blue key route. This is a good moment to pick up that soul sphere that I mentioned before. Because the previous fight went so well, I actually have a lot of blue armor left, which is great. I'm actually surprised that never happened to me before. The blue key route is very easy in comparison to the red one. None of the upcoming fights are particularly scary, so I'm not really worried at this point. Like I said, once you get past the teleporter room, you're well on your way to reaching the finale. The first encounter involves a bit of platforming. There are 4 chain gunners here, 2 on this side and 2 on the other. That actually goes really well, because the chain gunners are so far away that the auto-aim might not even trigger on them. And here we have another secret. This one has a radiation suit. It's time for platforming. Once we get to the 4th pillar, we're gonna get an ambush involving 4 chain gunners and 2 mancubi. The easiest way to deal with this is to just drop down and escape through the teleporter. But I decided to be fancy here and stay on a pillar, like a true hero. We preferably want the mancubi to die on the right, because we're gonna have archviles coming from the left. This is the nasty part. Chain gunners on one side and archviles on the other. You may want to switch to the plasma rifle for the vials, because using the rocket launcher here is not a good idea. The next fight is strange. It involves a circle of Hell Knights and an archvile. And I mean, all you really have to do here is to go after archvile first, and that's it. Now, you might not believe it, considering I only have 23 health now, but this is actually the easiest fight in the whole level. Now, this was just complete misfortune. I got blasted by the vial and then got hit by a lot of projectiles. However, and you're gonna have to take my word for it, this is actually the first time it happened to me. In most cases, I would leave this fight without losing any health at all. So what just happened here is really uncommon from my experience. But yeah, this fight is kind of underwhelming. I mean, the first time I played it, I was like, that's it? Nothing else? No other monsters? Yep, that's it. Thankfully, the next fight is more interesting. But before we go there, we have to heal up, and I'm actually gonna go back for the soul sphere I left in the room with all the platforms. The upcoming encounter takes place on a dance floor. Now, I don't know, it's just the first thing that comes to my mind every time I see it. It looks like some kind of a club, or like a disco room or something. Anyway, we have this L-shaped dance floor and a platform with a blue key attached to it. There are 3 stages to this fight. First we get a horde of imps, then a couple of revenants, and then 6 archviles. So here's what we're gonna do. We'll try to lure all the imps to the entrance of this area so that they all die on one side of the room. The idea behind it is that we want the archviles on this side to not bother us during the fight. And if there's a lot of corpses here, they'll be busy resurrecting them, getting blocked by imps, and hopefully they will not pay any attention to us. So we want to neatly cover the floor with the imp corpses so that they'll hopefully keep the archviles busy. After we're done with this, we're gonna release the revenants, and then the strategy will be different. Because we don't want any revenants to be resurrected, so we're just gonna have to lure them out of this room. And thankfully at that point the way out is not blocked yet, so I assume this is the intended solution. This strategy doesn't always work flawlessly, but it's better than nothing. When you have 6 archviles in the area, you better take what you can get. And there are the revenants, so let's escape and try to get them out of the disco room. I'm gonna go all the way back to the upper ledge and try to lure them out this way. The only problem is that the revenants will be in the pit, so with the rocket launcher involved, you know what might happen. You know what will happen. To be honest, I'm not even sure if it was worth just completely escaping from that area. Maybe it would have been easier and faster to just kill them on the spot. So yeah, we want to stay on this side to lure them towards us, then run to the other and shoot them. Then just rinse and repeat. Right, so I would love to blame that on the auto-aim misbehaving, but actually it was completely my fault. After we get the blue key, we'll be able to break into the vault containing the yellow key. However, before we can enter the vault itself, we're gonna have to deal with the guards, and there are quite a lot of them. Suffice to say that this is gonna be the biggest slaughter that we're gonna see in this map set. But also quite boring, to be honest. There's a pretty convenient secret there that lets us pretty much completely trivialize that fight. But that's actually good, because I need a couple of minutes to finally be able to tell you all about the finale of this level. Oh, and by the way, here's the funny situation. That revenant got stuck on that platform over there. Apparently he was able to walk up the stairs, but now he cannot come down. I'm trying to get him to get off of this platform, but I guess he doesn't want to be with everyone else on the dance floor. Then again, I can sympathize with that. I wouldn't want to be there either. But hey, at least he landed a pretty good hit on me, so props to him. Okay, it's time for the Archviles. Let's see if our plan is gonna work. So as you can see, the Archviles in front of us have nothing to resurrect, so all they can do is walk up the stairs to the platform. And because the only way here is for that little staircase, they become an easy target. Now it's time for this batch. There's actually a lot of Hell Knights behind us on the ledge, but we don't have to worry about them. Just taking my time here. There's no reason to rush this, we have a lot of rockets and this position is pretty safe. Okay, only one Archvile left. Boom. The Archviles are dead. Let's get out of here. A couple of pain elementals are waiting for us outside, but that's not really a problem. Here we go. Just blast the first corridor with a rocket launcher, then switch to the plasma rifle and deal with the other one. Okay, we're finally heading towards the vault. This is probably the biggest room in the entire map set. First we're gonna have to deal with the Mastermind and Arachnotrons, as well as a couple of Mancubi on the ledges. Then we're gonna press the switch in the middle, which is gonna unleash an absolute army of demons. We're gonna have Hell Knights and Cacodemons near the vault, Revenants and Mancubi protecting the switch that opens the vault, and 10 Cyberdemons just for good measure. Also, is that a BFG on the pillar there? My goodness, we had to wait for 7 levels to get that weapon. Finally. We can press the switch right away, but I prefer to clear the area before I do that. After the battle begins, I'm gonna have to lure out all the Cyberdemons out of their monster closet to get to the secret switch, and these Arachnotrons are just gonna make it infinitely harder. I also want to get rid of the Mancubi because they're not gonna help with the infighting. The secret that I mentioned takes us to the ledge above this entire area, which is pretty much completely safe. There's an invulnerability orb there, but we're gonna need it for the second phase of the fight. My entire strategy is essentially using the secret to cause a lot of infighting from a safe position. We want the Cybers to kill as much as possible, and we also want them to die in the process. It's not a very entertaining strategy, but it's very safe. This fight is actually ridiculously difficult if you're not abusing that secret area. We have a lot of cells and a couple of megaspheres, but once all of those monsters start flooding the area, then you're gonna be in real trouble. So for us it's gonna be a pretty boring process of going to the teleporter, heading back down to trigger some infighting, then going back up the teleporter again and rinse and repeat for like 6 minutes or something. After that we're gonna unlock the vault, and grabbing the yellow key is gonna trigger another phase of the fight. The walls will come down, releasing I think like 16 Archviles into the area, and that's why we need the invulnerability. Now the reason why I'm detailing all those upcoming events for you right now is because during the fight itself I'm gonna be talking about something different. And it might have something to do with probably the biggest obstacle I've ever faced during these demo recordings. Good, everything is dead. Let's open the gates. I punch the air to alert the Cyberdemons just so they start moving, because like I said before, we need to get them out of their monster closet. There they are. It's actually kind of scary. There's 10 Cyberdemons there and we need to get them all out of there before all the monsters surround us. Yeah, here we've got a glimpse of how many monsters there are in this fight. Okay, it's time to go. Once we get to the secret teleporter, we're gonna be fine. Alright, so let's talk about the finale, shall we? I remember from back in the day that this level was very hard, but when I was playing it with saves before I started demo recording, it looked pretty manageable. I felt like, hey, this isn't much more difficult than Veilitz, if at all, so like, yeah, I should be fine, I should be able to do this. I mean, up until this point I was able to figure out every single fight in this map set, so I felt pretty confident. And then I got to the finale. The final encounter consists of 2 stages. The first one I'm not gonna spoil, because I think you know, I don't want to ruin the surprise for you. The second one, however, is pure insanity. The whole thing takes place on a square platform, but we can only move around the periphery, and there's a lot of columns there. One of the corners of this square expands and forms another platform with an exit. After the first stage, we press the switch there, and that triggers the main fight. And the main fight works like this. There are 3 warp points for monsters on the corners of this square. The furthest one has, I think, about 80 revenants and 4 archviles, while the other 2 have imps. After about 40 seconds, 3 large boxes near the exit open, revealing 3 stationary cyberdemons. Before we start the finale, we get fully stacked. We get a megasphere, full cells and full rockets. The platform itself has a bunch of cells and 2 megaspheres, but we're gonna use one of those megaspheres after stage 1. It's possible to survive it without losing any health, but that's pretty damn difficult, so we shouldn't count on it. So really we only have a single megasphere for this entire fight, and that's it, we don't have any other health items there. My optimism has quickly faded when it turned out that I just couldn't beat that fight at all. My success rate was astronomically low because I could get maybe 1 victory per like 100 attempts. So I took it as a challenge and started doing this fight over and over again, practicing, trying to figure it out, hoping to find a reliable method of beating it. So I kept trying, playing it over and over again for 5 days. I've spent probably around 10 hours practicing this one single encounter. And after all this time, after all this effort, I still couldn't beat it reliably. I kept rewatching the demos of this level, but it wasn't helping. I didn't know what I was doing wrong. So eventually I decided that it's time to ask for help. I went to the Doomworld forums and made a thread there basically saying, hey, I'm trying to beat this level, but I'm stuck at the finale, I can't figure it out. I've watched the demos, I've been trying for a while, it doesn't work, so can you please tell me what is the secret technique to beating this fight? So like, what am I missing? I only got a single reply. I think it was from Killer5, and that person told me that, yeah, they couldn't find a reliable way of beating that either, so they just kept trying until they succeeded. And that made me pretty upset actually, because I was really hoping that I'm just missing something, like there is a technique, I'm just not seeing it. But I guess, well, it's just an RNG fest. The best thing that you can do there is, once you press the switch, you rush towards the warp point for all the revenants and archviles, and you just keep blasting it with the BFG, hoping to get as many vials as possible. Now because the teleporting is random, you might get all of the archviles or none of the archviles. Now because the playable area is so small, because you only have the periphery of this entire square, you're pretty much bound to get hit. Like there's very little you can do to actually avoid taking damage there. All you can really do is rush with the BFG and hope for the best. And as a result of that, you might take very little damage in this process, or you can just get completely destroyed in the first 2 seconds. Now because there are absolutely no supplies in that corner of the square, there will be a point where you're gonna have to run back, all the way back to the smaller platform and get supplies. Meanwhile, the monsters are still teleporting in, and you probably have to take that one single megasphere that you've got left there, and that's it. No more healing. And if you didn't manage to kill any archviles by that point, well, it's pretty much over. You can still try to hide behind the cyberdemons once they appear, but running past them is actually very, very dangerous. Anyway, so I decided that okay, I'm just gonna start demo recording and we'll see what happens. And long story short, during my attempts, I got to the finale 11 times. And what that means is that I have effectively gotten through the whole level 11 times and didn't manage to beat the final encounter. So you can probably imagine I was pretty exhausted and not very happy about this. After dying to the finale for the 11th time, I thought to myself, okay, there's no way I'm doing it by just bashing my head against the wall hoping that it will work one day. So I decided to try something different. During my practicing, I discovered a little exploit that can be used to circumvent this entire situation, but I originally deemed it too risky, too dangerous, and I didn't even attempt it during my demo recording. But of course at this point I was completely desperate, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a go. And lo and behold, it actually worked. Now, to be perfectly honest, I'm not too happy about doing this, because it is kind of an exploit, but I knew that there's no way I'm beating this level any other way. But I'm gonna get to that later, because as you see, we've finally finished all the monsters in this area. This is the switch that opens the vault with the yellow key. We're very close to the second stage now. And here we go. The big walls are coming down, releasing a horde of archviles into this area. So it's time to take the orb and deal with them. We actually have to be pretty quick about this, because if we don't kill the archviles expeditiously enough, then the invulnerability is gonna run out. Of course, this is not the end of the world, but it's obviously more convenient to kill them while being invincible. The main thing we have to pay attention to is our ammo supply. While we do have a lot of cells in the area, especially near the vault, we preferably do not want to waste invulnerability on running across the room. You see, we're dealing with the final archviles as the invincibility is running out. But it's okay now, the crisis is averted. So let's deal with the rest of the monsters. Oh yeah, and this is how you deal with all those chain gunners. You have to shoot the wall with the BFG and then get out of the cover to let the traces hit the chain gunners on the ledges. That way you don't have to wait for the main projectile to hit a distant target while being exposed to enemy fire. This is actually very useful in many other situations as well, so you should try this if you haven't. And we're finally done with this area. It's time to get out of here and wrap things up before going to the finale. As you probably remember, I have skipped 2 secrets before, so we have to grab them before we finish it off. Oh man, we're almost done with this. Can you feel it in the air? Okay, first up we have to finish those Hell Knights. These are the guys that were unlocked during the blue key fight in the disco room. Specifically when we lowered the blue key itself. Next, we're gonna go for the secret in that room with all the monster teleporting lines. There's a shootable switch hidden there, and it unleashes 2 archviles and also gives us, I think, a soul sphere and a couple of rockets or something. So yeah, there actually is a soul sphere in this area, but releasing 2 archviles to get it is not worth it. And yeah, now we have a BFG, so this is pretty easy, but doing it without it is actually not that straightforward. And now for the final secret, pre-fire the BFG before entering the teleporter, and then just slaughter everything. We don't have to worry about cells, so like I said, we're gonna get fully stacked before entering the final arena. And by the way, this secret gives us a megasphere, so you might actually want to do it earlier. It's not really super difficult without the BFG. And that's the moment I've been waiting for. Are you ready for it? I told you before that I didn't want to spoil the first stage of this finale. Now what do you think is gonna happen? Any ideas? Say hello to 19 archviles, yay! Fun! So this is what you might call an archvile rush, and it's actually not as bad as it looks. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's difficult, it's insane, but it's actually not as luck-based as you might think. It's absolutely terrifying, but you can actually eventually learn how to deal with something like this. With a little bit of luck, you can actually do this without losing any health at all. But if you play as badly as I do, you might get hit a couple of times. The worst thing is that with that many archviles, if you get hit while there's still a lot of archviles left, then you will probably die, because they'll just blast you out of the cover and into the line of sight of other archviles. It's kinda like that one fight in Violets, but on steroids. And here's the trick that I mentioned. I exploit the fact that the switch takes a moment before receding into the ground. That allows me to briefly step over it, get on top of the rim around the box, and then get to the other side. And now we're completely safe. Well, for about 40 seconds. After that time, those 3 boxes are gonna open, revealing 3 stationary cyber demons, as I explained earlier. The reason I'm peeking out of cover is because I want some projectiles to fly in that direction, so that when the cyber demons appear, they immediately get hit by something. And that's gonna be the critical moment. If 3 cyber demons start shooting me at this distance, then I have pretty much no chance of survival. At this point we're on the right track. As you can see, when we're standing over here, only one Cyberdemon has a line of sight to us. So I'm waiting for the moment when that Cyberdemon starts shooting somebody else, and then I blast him with the BFG. The reason why that works is because the Cyberdemon is not gonna change his target when he's already in the process of shooting somebody. So that's a perfect moment to rush him with the BFG to make sure that all the tracers actually hit him. And now we just have to wait while they're infighting, waiting for an opportune moment to finish things off. So yeah, I'm really sorry for doing this, but after hours spent on trying to figure this thing out, I do not believe that this fight is reasonably possible for a human being. As I wrote in the thread, you are free and welcome to prove me wrong. If you think I'm wrong, then do this. Show me a video of you attempting this finale 10 times and winning 5 out of those 10 attempts. I would really love to see that, honestly, because to me this is completely inconceivable. Anyway, at this point I decide it's time to start killing things. I was so stressed out at this point, you have no idea. But it's almost over. You know, when that last Revenant fell, that was the most beautiful sight I've ever seen in Doom. One final look at this area, and let's destroy that pillar of energy. Okay, and on that glorious note, I'm finishing my Stardate 20x6 series. I hope I wasn't too painful to listen to, and well, while we're at it, I'm gonna give you a little bit of an update on the Stardate 20x7 series that I kind of already announced. First thing is that after uploading this video, I will take a little break from making these commentaries. I need to rest a bit and do something else because these commentaries ended up taking way more of my time than I anticipated. I mean, I didn't even have time to start on the last 2 levels of 20x7, even though I was supposed to do this right after my Amethyst II video. Also, after coming back to this, I will be taking a bit more time between the videos themselves. I mean, I need to be able to do other things as well, so I will be giving myself a little bit more time between the episodes. And you know, well, I don't really want to promise anything, because who knows what's gonna happen in the future. But as of right now, I am determined to do the 20x7 series in a not too terribly distant future. But I also do not want to burn myself out by just doing this day after day, so I need a little bit of a break. So yeah, Stardate 20x6 series are complete. I think I said everything that I wanted to say, so well, thanks for watching and have a nice day.